afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, May 29th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day with today is, she's back. She's back. Not surprised to see it. We did have this card just a few days ago. What are we seeing here? Today is a day of addressing the karmic connections in your life right now. Specifically, this is a lot of attention right now faced towards the unhealed karmic connections, or putting a lot of investigation in those karmic connections right now, looking at any disparities in connections to ask yourself, are these situations and circumstances that can heal, that have the ability to move into a space of healing, or are these unhealed karmic connections that need to be moved away from? The next card we have coming through in our 5-card spread for today, may I please have the next card, is the 6 of Swords in its reversal. So this is that moment of orientation. This is that moment of truly deciding. And how are we deciding right now? This is looking at these connections, putting a lot of investigation towards them at this time, and really asking yourself, are there possibilities of moving forward from this point into a space of positivity? This is either going to feel from 1 or 2 different spaces for you at this moment. This is either going to be coming through right now as a moment that you are looking at these connections and you're really asking yourself, do these show the ability and capacity that they can be moved forward with in a positive direction, allowing the grief to be kind of shed, finding that space of healing? Or is this a moment that you yourself are moving away from the unhealed karmic connections and doing this work for yourself right now to let go and release any of the grief or pain that you may be experiencing for having to do that work? Center card for our spread for today is, we have here the 10 of Wands in its reversal. As we're seeing the completion of cycles, there is a desire for a point of easement as it relates to these circumstances and situations. There is something here that is showing that there is something about these that it feels like there is an overabundance of work being put on your own shoulders. That is where we're seeing this point to try to rectify and correct, thank you for the gift, on the connections. And again, this is either going to fall into 1 or 2 categories depending on how this is connecting to you today. This is either putting in right now the work to heal, to remediate, to correct for any of the imbalances in the karmic connections in your life at this point, trying to find this way or path to move forward with peace, allowing this grief to be moved away, moving into a space of positivity, and doing some work right now to shed some of the anxieties or the difficulties in these connections. For the other half of the collective right now, what we're really seeing is this is a moment that you are feeling and allowing yourself to be unburdened, particularly as it relates to some of these unhealed karmic connections. And that work is one where you are specifically looking, the goal in those is just to find a way to move forward. You're feeling that easement. You're feeling more of an ability now to move away from those unhealed karmic connections without carrying some of the difficulty, without carrying some of the grief. And that in itself is also a point of liberation at the completion of a cycle. The next card we have coming through right now, 4th card for our 5-card spread is, can't make this up, folks. We just got this card a couple of days ago in our card of the day. This is the point of clarification. This is for a lot of you right now. This is giving that indication as to whether these are creating a space or opportunity of healing, or if this is something that you are moving away from. For in either of these situations, as it relates to the karmic connections that you're currently facing, whether they are coming through as situations or circumstances that you're trying to heal at this moment, or whether they are trying to come through as you moving away, departing from these unhealed karmic connections, this is you facing the truth and the reality as it relates to those connections. For some of you right now, this is doing that work in karmic connections that you feel need some point of healing, to be honest, to express honesty, communicate, to create this clarity so that you can move forward from this point without these connections feeling as difficult as they may have recently been experienced for you. For the other half of the collective right now, We see that this is a moment that you yourself are allowing yourself to move away from karmic connections, that you are just coming to the truth and acknowledging that they are not going to be able to be repaired, that they are continually going to stay in that unhealed, that there's something about that connection that is not showing an ability to collaborate or a desire to heal. That is the truth or clarity that you are giving yourself at this time that is allowing you to move forward right now with this sense of completion and this point of acceptance. The final card for our first 5 is the Emperor energy. We've been seeing this card coming up a lot in the daily collective read recently. And again, this is going to hit a little bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Specifically, this is that point of truth that is happening for both feminine and masculine. For the feminine collective, again, we're seeing it split right now in the feminine collective. For some of the feminine collective right now, this is a point where you are doing work with another energy to work on healing some sort of karmic connection that is in repair, in need of repair. Trying to find those ways to move forward from a point of positivity, allowing the grief to be put behind, making it easier to continue in these connections. And the point of easement is this truth, having this transparency coming through and receiving that truth and transparency, which is giving you indications that this is something that can be healed, because the energy that is associated with it is showing that ability to stand in their power, to show that, exhibit that sense of self-control and self-mastery, while also providing that point of transparency. For the other half of the feminine collective right now, we are seeing that this is a moment that you are walking away from unhealed karmic connections. That point of acknowledgement of making it easier right now for you to do so, allowing this to be a burden that you are willing to put down, because the truth of the situation or circumstances are such that you recognize that you are trying to manifest in right now a healed Emperor energy, someone who is going to be able to stand in their power, someone who is going to be able to be forthright. And for that reason, it is now becoming easier because you're allowing yourself to accept that truth and recognizing that this energy cannot meet you there, that is helping you as you complete this cycle. For the masculine energy right now, we are seeing that this is about a lot of self-work. What we are recognizing here for the masculine energy is there is that similar desire right now. There is a point of observation that you yourself are looking at as it relates to the karmic energies in your life right now, putting a lot of assessment in right now as to the ones that are in need of some sort of work in order to correct for some issues around that energy, or having a point of observation and really asking yourself if these energies are ones that can move into a healing vibration. For half of the collective right now, we are seeing for masculine, there is a deep desire in these connections to move out of a space that things are difficult, allowing some of these burdens to be shed. For half of the masculine energy for your part right now, we are recognizing that you understand that the way that you're going to be able to identify right now what connections that you yourself are currently trying to work through is in you manifesting this Emperor energy for yourself right now. And for the masculine collective right now, what we're recognizing is this is you falling on one of two opposite sides of this as well. For half of the masculine collective right now, this is a point of observation. You are releasing those unhealed karmic energies. You are moving from a place of acknowledging to a certain extent an ability to move forward, allowing this to be able to be something that you can shed and move forward through with ease, coming to some certain truths about these circumstances and situations. And this is your act of self-mastery, because it is requiring a certain degree of willpower to be able to come into these truths right now. For the other half of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment that you yourself are understanding that there is something here about your ability to heal some unhealed karmic circumstances and situations, looking and seeking a way to move forward from a plate of positivity, being unable to bear the burden that you're personally carrying. And you yourself are recognizing that the way that you're going to be able to put that burden down is by coming forward right now from a place of truth, from a place of transparency. And that in itself is also helping you learn to move into your Emperor energy in a space of having that control of the self and that ability to be forthright and upfront in these situations and circumstances in order to move them back into a space or place of healing. Now, let's get some clarification on these cards for today. Clarification between our Six of Cups in its reversal in combination with the Six of Swords in its reversal today. Double six energy. So everything being in a moment right now of trying to move into a space of greater harmony. For half of the collective right now, that is doing some work to try to repair some karmic connections that you feel need this point of correction. For the other half, that is how you're going to correct the disharmony. For the other half of the karmic connections right now, the collective right now, this is you really recognizing right now something that is unhealed and has no possibility of moving into a place of healing. And this is that moment that you are also allowing a point of correcting for the disharmony by giving that point of acceptance and using this as an opportunity to move forward with a lightening of the grief, a lightening of the loss, allowing this to be that moment that you can move into a better sense of harmony for yourself in this moment by releasing. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification. We saw this card the other day, just yesterday, with that Nine of Cups in its reversal. All of this has to relate to what you feel you can do. There is something here that is very important about being able to be in your most full expression of yourself, having this ability to put all your cards on the table and feeling like they will be appreciated, acknowledged, respected, and that the same courtesy will be granted back to you in kind. For half of the collective right now, this is that moment that you are recognizing this is the point of correction. This is the point of easement. You are recognizing that the way that you're going to be able to heal these energies and move forward with greater ease is if you are able to come forward in this way, truly showing what it is that you have to show, feeling like you are appreciated for that, and not feeling like you need to kind of hold back or not disclose parts or portions about yourself in this moment. For the other half of the collective right now, this is why you're allowing yourself to move away from unhealed karmic energies, because there's a point of acknowledgement that you yourself are experiencing around these circumstances and situations right now, where you are recognizing that something about these unhealed karmic energies are ones where you could never fully be your highest expression of self, that you are feeling underseen, underappreciated, and it's that point of recognition. This is the reason, this is why you feel that these cannot be healed, that you are now allowing yourself to move forward with an easier sense of positivity, not carrying so much grief as you come forward from this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Swords in its reversal in combination with that 10 of Wands in its reversal. So this is that point of easement. There is a feeling of something that is becoming too difficult to maintain. Doing, again, half of the collective, doing work right now to try to ease this burden and allowing that to be a completion point as you go forward without the grief that you're carrying thus far. For the other half of the collective right now, this is that moment that you yourself are finally feeling able to move away from something simply because it has become too hard for you to bear. And this point of recognition is also creating this space or place for you to feel an easement in shedding this burden and allowing this cycle to reach a point of completion. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with our Queen of Cups. We like seeing this, and this is going to feel a little bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For the feminine energy right now, this is a moment that is really requiring you in finding this sense of emotional balance for yourself. There's something about these circumstances and situations that are allowing you to be able to maintain this point of stability. This makes a lot of sense considering the fact that we've been seeing the High Priestess coming up now, and it's upright over the last few days. While the feminine has been using a very logic-based approach over the last few days to try to overcome some of these hurdles, this is that moment for feminine that she is now making the decisions that she needs to make as she goes forward, because she's moving out of the headspace again, back into her emotional center. She's feeling that point where she recognizes that she can't necessarily forever continually stay in that higher logic space, but she also needs to take some accounting of their emotions. And so for feminine right now, this is a point of really considering your own emotional landscape as it relates to how you go forward from this point. One of the reasons feminine is now finding it easier right now, either in, again, for half of the collective, putting this work in right now, having this work that you're doing in terms of having the work that you've done to find a way to move forward with a great sense of easement, and also being able to put down some of the burden that you've been carrying. The reason that you're able to do that right now is this work that you've been doing over the last week has created this moment that you feel that you are in control of your emotions. You are feeling balanced in your emotional center, which is why you are willing to be able to continue to do this work with a karmic connection that is still in an act of healing. For the other half of the feminine collective right now, the reason that you are being able to move away from some unhealed karmic energy at this time is, again, you understand and appreciate that those spaces and places that you need to move away from were not places that you could be your fullest expression of self. And allowing this to be that moment of moving away is also finding the reason you can do this now is that point of truth that you're giving yourself in this moment, that those would never be places where you would ever be truly accepted, where you would ever be able to fully be open and honest. That's what's allowing you this easement point, and you're holding your composure as you move away and allow those cycles to close. While for masculine energy, again, this is that moment that we see that you yourself, we see a split in the masculine collective right now. Because for some of the masculine energy right now, this is a point of reorientation. There is some work that you are either currently doing right now around a karmic connection that is in need of healing. But for that part of the masculine collective, you are recognizing that you can do this work right now, because something about the energy associated to that work is showing the fact that that energy is able to maintain an emotional balance and an emotional composure, even in the process of going through or discussing difficult things. It is that moment of easement that is helping you identify that you yourself are in a place where you can be open and honest. I'm seeing here for the masculine energy, this is feeling like more of a sticking point at this moment. There's more of a personal need for the masculine to be able to master this in themselves, to step forward in this way. But you are feeling that it is easier now because you are recognizing that the feminine energy around you at this moment is at a place where you recognize that they will be able to hold their emotional composure no matter what truth you bring towards them at this time. For the other half of the masculine energy right now, this is a moment that you yourself are potentially releasing some unhealed karmic energy. You're finding an ability to do so with greater easement, again, for the same reason that there's something about those situations and circumstances that you feel you can never truly be your true self in, that always puts you in a disadvantage. And you yourself are now moving away from those, from this point of easement, with a lot of focus on a manifestation that you are ideally desiring for feminine, that you recognize would be in a point of emotional balance, that would allow you to be able to have this point of being able to express your true self, and knowing that that energy would stay emotionally composed in the process. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our 10 of Wands in its reversal in combination with the Moon card in its reversal. So this is that make or break moment that we've been seeing right now with that Temperance card that kept popping up in the reversal that we saw in all of yesterday's readings and the day before, and also in the card of the day for today. What we're really identifying right now, and again, you're going to fall on one or two sides of the collective on this right now. For some of the collective right now, this is a moment that you yourself are acknowledging the completion of a cycle, something that you have to move away from, and recognizing that it could be feeling like a point of pain because there was not this truth here, that there was this greater lesson about the fact that there could not be truth brought into a situation. And that observation is what is allowing you to close the cycle. For the other half of the collective right now, this is an easing of a burden that you are currently experiencing. And you're recognizing this easing of a burden is coming through because you are receiving that clarification. You are getting the answers to your question. You are getting that clarity of insight. And that is what's making it easier for you to move out of a space of difficulty. May I please have one card to clarify? clarification coming right now with our Three of Wands in its reversal. Everything now is coming into focus as it relates to the plans. And this is still feeling like a bit of a blocker in both scenarios, because what we're really seeing here is there is a moment right now of observation to be paid around both circumstances and situations for both sides. For some of the collective right now, there is a feeling of allowing this point of release, having some sort of truth coming into focus. But for half of the collective, this is still a point that requires more clarification. There is something that is still needing to be clarified here as it relates to the plans going forward from this point, as it relates to where this is ultimately heading. For some of the collective right now, it is trying to correct for this right now to get that clarity that is allowing you to put down some of the burdens and making this easier for yourself as you proceed forward in healing these karmic connections. For the other half of the collective right now, this is you walking away from something because you are acknowledging the truth that you feel that you will never be able to attain this from those energies. That not only are you not able to be seen or recognized in those energies to the degree that you would desire, but that they're not giving you that clarity or that sense of where they're ultimately going, that is also allowing you to close out a cycle at this time. The next cards that we are getting clarification on right now, between our Moon card in its reversal in combination with our Emperor energy. So again, this is going to feel a little bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, this is either falling on one of two sides. Either you are currently working right now with a collaboration towards an energy that you see is in their Emperor energy, showing that ability to be forthright, to be strong, to have that sense of self-control, even in the midst of having difficult conversations, getting and receiving that transparency. That is creating a sense of easement as you try to correct for any blockages about what things are going to look like moving forward. For the other half of the feminine collective right now, we are seeing that this is a moment of you accepting the truth around some circumstances and situations that are not giving or providing you this clarity, recognizing that that is not giving you space or a recognition of an energy that is willing to be able to stand forward and show this ability of mastery and control so that you can build and grow with them. While for masculine right now, we are also seeing two sides of this collective. For some of the masculine energy right now, this is experiencing some circumstances and situations we see here with the Queen of Cups energy. Someone who is showing an ability to stay at a point of emotional composure, even as you have difficult truths brought to the surface, difficult conversations brought to light. And this is creating a sense of self-empowerment for you. This is helping you be in your Emperor energy and be able to be expressive in this capacity at this time. While for the other half of the masculine collective, this is a moment of deep understanding. You are healing, you're trying to move away from some karmic energy, and you are recognizing that some of that point of difficulty may have been in relation to the fact that you could not be as open or expressive around that energy as you may have desired to. And also recognizing that this is a point of healing for you as you come into this space of self-mastery for yourself, moving away and out of something that you now realize isn't in a point of alignment, and learning the lesson of being more honest as you go forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with this Two of Swords energy. This is again a bit of a blockage that we're seeing here. It is going to feel a bit different for feminine and masculine energy. For feminine here, while there is some work that's currently actively happening with a masculine energy that you feel is standing in their Emperor energy, and you're trying to get that clarity of, you're not necessarily completely convinced that things are in a space of healing. This card is still coming up in its reversal right now. It's still in a point of trying to find that point of correction. You are holding, to a certain extent, your own decision, your own judgment, your own intuition as it relates to what kind of information or truth you are receiving from this Emperor energy at this time. While for the other part of the feminine collective right now, this is a moment that you yourself are continuing to work to release some masculine energy or some unhealed karmic energy. You are moving forward right now with a recognition that you are not being seen and appreciated in those spaces and places that were unhealed. That all of that requires you to be in a space with a masculine energy that is in its emperor vibration, that is showing you that honesty. But you yourself are feeling this point of pause today as you hold on your own actions to that degree, trying to let your intuition and your observations guide you forward from this point. While for masculine energy right now, this is a bit of uncertainty that we're seeing, because for some of the masculine energy right now, what we're really recognizing is there is a choice that you yourself must make as it relates to getting to the truth or revealing the truth around some circumstances and situations in your own life right now. You are having a moment right now. Again, you're falling on either one of two sides of this right now, masculine energy. For half of the masculine energy right now, this is this moment that you yourself are looking at a connection that requires some sense of healing, and requiring an understanding that the only way to bring a point of healing in this connection right now is if you are able to come forward in a degree and to a degree in terms of being transparent and open and honest, standing in your power at that time. But this is something that is difficult for you. There is some anxiety here. And even though you're accepting and acknowledging that this does seem to be an energy around this right now that is able to maintain their own emotional composure, you are kind of holding on that fully revealing all of the truth around a circumstance or situation until you feel intuitively guided and using that point of observation to kind of assess if the energy is one that can stay composed as you kind of disclose this information to it. For the other half of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment that you yourself are trying to get to some truth around some situations. You're looking at some unhealed relationships or karmic energy right around you right now. You are doing that work to try to come to the truth. You're allowing this moment to be a point where you're really embodying the truth about some situations and circumstances. But you again are kind of holding on taking action at this point, really trying to use your intuition and observation to guide you as you proceed cautiously forward from this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Cups. So for feminine energy right now, this is feeling a little hairy. I will be honest, because again, there is something here about feminine having to acknowledge some circumstances or situations that she feels are not necessarily ideal. The feminine energy is trying to come into this point of correction, feeling some anxiety that she might be kind of pouring everything into something and not getting back in kind. Reciprocity is key right now. For feminine, there's a deep observation that's being shed. She's holding her actions right now to see if someone is going to be able to meet her to the level and degree that they would ideally require them to meet her. Even for either the feminines that are moving away from something, this is a point of acknowledgement on some unhealed karmic energy that you are just acknowledging that this is never going to be able to happen with. For the other half, this is feminine in a way holding space right now, looking at some things she's trying to remedy or work through, and really seeing if they're going to show this capacity of being able to meet her in the same fashion while also maintaining her own emotional stability and balance throughout this. While for masculine energy right now, this is a moment that you yourself are feeling some anxiety around fully disclosing. There's something here about the masculine energy feeling like they are holding back to a certain extent, uncertain in order about whether to reveal their full truth around a circumstance and situation, even at a point of considering a feminine energy that they recognize and see is in a point of emotional balance. So this is also feeling like very difficult energy around the masculine as well, because for some of the masculine, this is a point that you do want. There is that desire to disclose. For some of you, this is feeling that moment of like trying to truly decide if this is something that you can do or not. Because even though you are recognizing that this feminine is in a point of emotional balance, you're still feeling that blockage. For some of you, this might be feeling like you might actually be blocked from reaching this feminine right now. For the others, there's some anxiety as to whether this feminine is going to be able to maintain their composure as you provide this information or divulge this information to them. May I please have one card of clarification? Queen of Wands in its reversal. And this is going to feel a bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine, this is feeling like a bit of a rocky day, is what we're really seeing. Because there are some situations or circumstances where you are feeling like you can't necessarily bring your full breath to the table. You're having that moment of really looking at situations and asking if the energy around you can meet you to the same degree and capacity that you desire to be met. Both for the feminines that are completely moving away from something right now, allowing that to be in the past, versus the ones that are actively working to try to correct for these oversights. There is a feeling of frustration that we see for the feminine right now, because while feminine is in a space that they're maintaining their own emotional composure in this, there is a feeling of frustration that feminine isn't being given what they need to feel like they're at a point of empowerment. They're feeling that someone is kind of withholding to a certain degree, not giving them the things that they need so that they can move forward from a place of real determination and action. While for masculine energy right now, I need to point out that this is either identifying, for some of the masculine right now, this is identifying aspects of a single feminine energy right now that is embodying these characteristics. While for the other half of the masculine collective right now, this could even be more than one manifestation of feminine in your own life at this moment. Because what we're really seeing here right now is you yourself are feeling a little unsure in how to come forward to a certain degree. There is some anxiety about being able to fully show and express what it is that you truly desire right now. Either because there, as I mentioned, for some of the masculine energy, there is a feeling that while there is a feminine energy that is in a point of emotional balance, there is an anxiety about that energy and whether it is going to be in alignment with your own plans or with your own goals. How, if this is going to be an energy that's able to work with you to the capacity and degree that you desire when you fully disclose what it is that you would like to disclose to them. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment of feeling some deep uncertainty as it relates to the feminine energy around you. Because as we saw masculine, there is a need to want to come forward right now. For the masculine energy, we see the fact that there are some things that do not have the full light of day. You are looking about potentially expressing them fully, but you're holding on that action. And for the other half of the masculine collective right now, this could really be around where you want to disclose this energy, what you want to heal right now. Because while we see and recognize that there is a feminine that is in this point of emotional balance, we also see that there is some feminine that you might not necessarily even be in communication with at this time, that you're similarly considering reaching out to at this moment. This is coming through as a bit more confusing energy for the masculine right now, particularly on that side of the divide. Because for you right now, this is really looking at the feminine energy right now and really trying to determine what direction you want to go into, or even really asking yourself, what energy is safe to go towards right now versus what it is that you truly desire. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Cups in its upright in combination with our Three of Wands in its reversal. So for feminine right now, this is a feeling of frustration. This is why we see that Queen of Wands coming up in its reversal. Because while you are maintaining your own emotional stability and security around some circumstances or things right now, there's some things in your life that you simply do not know where they are headed. You're trying to get that clarification on where they're headed. There's some things potentially in your life that you've decided that you cannot get this optics on right now and you are moving away from. For the other half of the feminine, even if you're in a space where you're trying to do some work to remedy right now, there is still this outside observation that this clarity is not coming through. While for the masculine energy right now, you yourself are trying to clear up some blockages as it relates to what you actually desire at this time. For masculine, this is coming through as a lot more confusion, because we're seeing here that there's a masculine energy that's trying to stand in their emperor power. but is also having some blockage in terms of like what that long-term plan or path is. Even while for some of the masculine collective right now, this is a lot of focus on a feminine energy that you feel is in a point of emotional balance. While for the other half of the masculine collective right now, this is trying to find some way to clear up some blockage as it relates to a feminine energy that you feel is holding and maintaining their composure. But again, you cannot provide this like future outlook to at this moment. May I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with communication. What have we been saying, my friends? What have we been saying all week? This is the only message that we've been coming through with this week. This card will not stay in the deck this week, my friends. Communication, planning is key right now. This is what clears up the blockage. I don't know how many more times I have to say this, but this is the connection. This is the communication that's coming through. The answer to these problems right now is in the planning, is in the communication. And I got to point out, for some of the feminine energy right now, we're seeing that this is a moment. The reason feminine is keeping their composure right now is because they're not waiting. There's anything here that we're seeing right now for feminine, either for the feminines that are walking away right now from some situations and circumstances. This is going to be one of two sides right now of the feminine energy. For half the feminine collective right now, this is looking and observing around some circumstances or situations that you're trying to amend for, that you feel like there is this blockage, but there's active communication happening to clear up the blockage. That's what's keeping you in this point of emotional composure right now. For the other half of the feminine collective, this is you just saying, forget it. This is you identifying some spaces that you just recognize are not giving you that clarity. They're not creating that point of stability for yourself, and you are walking away from them because you're recognizing that your emotional stability is vital to have this. It is vital for you to have that communication, that consistency, that planning. And for it to be robust and active, you require that to stay emotionally stable. So you're simply walking away from things that aren't giving that perception for you. While for masculine energy right now, what we're really seeing is this is you. For some of the masculine collective right now, and we're seeing a split here as it relates to the masculine collective. For half of the masculine collective right now, we are seeing that there is a moment that you are working right now with a feminine that you feel is in a point of emotional balance. You are recognizing that there is a blockage, and you are actively communicating to try to remedy and fix the blockage, recognizing communication is and transparency is what is going to keep this feminine that you're aspiring to in emotional composure. For the other half of the masculine collective right now, this is a real point of struggle on what to do. Because while you feel there is some feminine energy here right now, there is some anxiety in setting this course forward. There is some anxiety in terms of being able to see whether you can go forward with this right now. And it all is related to your own ability to move, to travel, to communicate, to be able to have this come forward in this way. There's some kind of blockage here for that masculine collective, and it all relates to your own uncertainty as to what it is that you truly want. So while you're identifying the fact that there is an emotionally balanced feminine here, you're not sure what it is you want. And so you're struggling between what it is you want versus the ability to communicate with this energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Wands in its reversal in combination with the Two of Swords. So this is a real struggle moment for masculine and feminine energy on both sides of the collective right now, because there is this frustration that is occurring right now as it relates to a path going forward. For half of the collective right now, this is a moment that you are trying to clear up the blockages, but you're not sure if they can be cleared up. You are holding on taking action right now, trying to use your point of observation to give you this point of clarification. For the other half of the collective right now, this is feeling like a real struggle point because we're not seeing that this is getting cleared up at the degree or capacity that you would ideally desire it to. There's something here that is feeling extremely blocked. You do not have all of the perception that you need right now to make a decision. You are trying to get the clarity so that you can have the optics so that you can make a decision. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with Ace of Cups in its reversal. This is what the big question is right now. There's something really important that's happening right now about the value of requiring and needing this long-term outlook, that this perspective, this ability to see beyond the immediate moment that needs to be cleared up, because it is a recognition that when you do not receive that, then you feel emotionally drained, then you feel emotionally exhausted. That there is something here that is requiring this point of fulfillment. For feminine and masculine right now, there is a blockage here. For masculine energy, we're seeing that this is more coming through right now as a personal blockage, as it relates to your own ability to truly decide what it is that you want to move forward in right now. And you're holding your action. And you're recognizing that it isn't necessarily the healthiest or best for you to do so at this moment. While for feminine energy right now, this is a moment that you yourself are feeling some blockage in terms of feeling like you're getting the clarity that you potentially require and need at this time. And there's something about this that is a recognition point that, as I just said, with the Queen of Cups here in its upright, when you don't receive that degree of clarity, it starts to emotionally and spiritually drain and exhaust you. So you are holding patiently right now, but you are also observing very heavily that you need this clarity. That without this clarity, there's going to be something that is just going to be non-beneficial to you. And you are working very hard. The feminine is working very hard not to allow that to be the case, because the feminine is in a space of emotional centering at this moment. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Wands in its upright. So again, this is going to feel very different for feminine and masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine, this is some feeling of frustration that's occurring today. There is something here that feels frustrating, both for the feminine energy that is walking away from things that were not aligned and serving their purposes as it relates to the unhealed karmics, and also for the feminine that is trying to work through any difficulties around some karmic energies that they feel are in need of healing. Because there is a recognition in both cases that without this clarity, without this communication, feminine is kind of blocked in order to be able to manifest what they're truly trying to manifest for themselves at this moment. That this consistent and open communication is key at this time. While for masculine energy right now, this is showing a bit of a point of frustration, and it's going to feel a bit different for two different parts of the masculine collective. For half of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment that you yourself are desiring to share some communication with a feminine energy that you recognize is in a point of emotional balance, but you're feeling the anxiety of how the feminine energy will react or respond to that information. While for the other half of the masculine collective right now, this is showing a deep need or desire to communicate with a feminine energy, but recognizing or fearing that that feminine just simply will not accept or communicate back in turn due to whatever has come before that has caused this friction point, that has caused this breakage that you are now trying to clear up with your communication and transparency. May I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now. This is a nightmare. This is a headache. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare for everybody right now, feminine and masculine. This is creating anxiety on all sides. All sides of this right now are feeling this frustration point. For feminine energy, this is a recognition of feeling the frustration of not being able to manifest to the degree or capacity that you need, desire right now, and trying to amend and correct it by getting as much clarity as necessary in terms of understanding what's going on. For feminine, that's either walking away from something that is giving every indication that it's not providing that, and communicating kind and feeling the frustration and anxiety and anger around it. For the other half of the feminine energy right now, this is trying to correct. This is trying to communicate and correct for this imbalance, but also feeling very frustrated because you may not necessarily be feeling like you're getting back in kind what you require. And this is also creating a point of frustration for you at this time. While for masculine collective right now, this is equally creating a moment of deep frustration for you. This is a bit of a nightmare situation that you're experiencing on both sides of the masculine collective, because for half of the masculine collective right now, you are recognizing the need to communicate. You are feeling the urgency in communicating. You are scared to communicate because you're scared how the energy is going to take what you give it, how it's going to receive that information. For the other half of the masculine collective right now, there's a deep desire to communicate. Again, feeling that urgency, feeling like this might be feeling like a bit of too little, too late energy on something that you're trying to correct, that is now too late to correct. And feeling the anxiety that you will, if you communicate, the energy won't be willing to experience, express, or reciprocate at this point because it's been too late. And this is also creating a point of anxiety and frustration. So frustration all across the board today as it relates to communication. Clarification and honesty. Clarification coming right now between our 8 of Wands and the Ace of Cups. For masculine and feminine right now, this recognition of the care and the importance and the value of open, expressive communication. For some of the energy right now, this is trying to communicate because you are feeling this moment of emotional void. For both energies, for some of you right now, there's something about this need to communicate. And I'm pointing out for masculine energy here, there is some anxiety about communicating. We're seeing that on both sides. For the masculine energy right now, this is more of an observation or anxiety about oversharing is what we're really seeing. You're feeling the struggling point right now in between oversharing, but also feeling the need and pressure and urgency of having to share, having to divulge, having to communicate at this point. Both sides of the collective. While for feminine right now, there is simply a point of recognition that if you do not receive this communication, if you do not receive this consistency, if you do not receive this clarity, then it is not in your best interest. It is not emotionally healthy for you. Do you see the difficulty between these two energies right now? They are reflecting each other, but in the exact opposite way. For masculine right now, the need to divulge is required, but it is emotionally draining and exhausting them in order to do so. The anxiety is in the communication. While for feminine right now, this is a moment that if they do not receive the communication and clarity that they need, they themselves are recognizing that this is not a space or place for them at this moment. Point. Clarifying card, please. This energy today. Clarification. Courage. Courage is needed here. Courage is needed. This is new energy here. This is requiring a new approach. We have been seeing this here. We have been seeing this right now. In all of this, this is requiring. It's why we saw the Fool there. This is a new approach. Nobody is used to doing this for both feminine and masculine right now. This is a part of that growth process. You know, feminine right now, feminine is not tolerating this, is what we're really seeing here. Feminine may have been in places and spaces before where they may have tolerated this type of situation. Feminine is not tolerating it right now. Feminine is standing up for themselves in the moments right now as it relates to the communication, because they recognize that not receiving the communication creates this unhealthy situation for them. So feminine is standing their ground on this. Feminine is coming to bat on this for themselves right now and requiring the masculine to come forward in the same fashion. This is like taking a swing here and being like, no, this is not going to be acceptable. While for masculine energy right now, there is a recognition that it's now or never, that you need to come forward right now. And it's feeling a bit like anxiety point because you feel like this is something new to you. You're feeling a little uncertain. You're feeling like this is a new approach, something that you haven't done in this capacity before. And it's requiring you to have courage in the face of something that you don't necessarily know how to do as effectively as you would desire, specifically because it is requiring you to really emotionally open up in order to express in this degree and this clarity and this consistency and this fashion. Oy vey. Okay, clarification right now between, this is it, man. Look at these two cards together. This is it. Clarification right now between the understanding that there's some situations right now. This is that tower moment that we saw was on the table yesterday. The crisis point that either is being worked through right now, learned from, or activated upon. For both energies. Okay, as we saw yesterday, for some of you right now, you are taking the nightmare situation, potentially even the nightmares and traumas from the past resurfacing, and you are using them as your activation point right now. You are not letting yourself be caught, and you're feeling it. You're definitely feeling it, but you're not holding an action right now. You are literally using it as fuel to guide your steps going forward in new ways. For feminine right now, this is holding your ground and requiring that clear communication, because the clear communication is the boundary that feminine is setting for themselves at this moment to protect their own emotional stability. While for masculine right now, this is a moment that is requiring you to have to be open, to have to be forthright, to have to stand in your power and be honest about what you feel, what you desire, what is being asked of you to reciprocate, and responding in an equally open manner. Both of these being new experiences. For that, masculine is feeling the crisis point. That in itself is creating this nightmare for masculine, because it's requiring you to put yourself in a very vulnerable emotional situation to divest to that capacity. And it is requiring in your understanding that there's going to be a nightmare situation. There's going to be a tower moment if you do not take up the sword and do so. Feeling and trying to find that courage in this moment. Final card for today's spread. Here's that point of easement. Here's that point of easement. 4 of Wands. The solution here, my friends, the solution to this nightmare moment that's feeling like it's unfolding to a point, the way to ease out of this point of anxiety is not to get too caught in the feeling of the moment. Don't get caught in being reactive. Do not get caught in reacting to the anxiety, to the fear that you're feeling right now. Okay? This is the important message for both masculine and feminine right now. Do not let yourself fall into the trap. What have we been talking about all week, my friends? Do not fall into the trap of becoming reactive, but instead focus on the ideal outcome. Let the ideal outcome fuel you. Don't forget what you're experiencing right now. Let the situation inform you. Let the situation inform you, but sit between the anxiety, the fears that you're feeling, mitigate them with the ideal situation that you're trying to build to yourself going forward prior to you taking action. Please listen to me today on this. Masculine and feminine. We've been seeing this all week. Look before you leap. In experience, feel, think about what you need to do and where you're trying to go, and then take the appropriate action to get there. For masculine, this is going to have a lot more to do with not wanting to immediately react and get defensive when someone asks you for the truth, when someone asks you to give this kind of insight, when someone asks you to reveal to the capacity that they're asking you to reveal. A masculine's immediate reaction that we're seeing here is to put up a block, to put up a defense. And what we're seeing here is masculine needs to take some action to stand in a different approach here with a focus on what it is that they're truly trying to get to at this point. While for feminine right now, this is a moment that you yourself, we're seeing for feminine, there's a moment here where you're really like just about to completely walk away from something. Even with the feminines that are trying to work on something right now. This is not a moment of losing hope. For feminines that are walking away, you're walking away with confidence towards that ideal future outcome. For the feminine energy that is working through a problem right now, this is you remembering right now not to let yourself get overly emotional, to hold your emotional balance in this moment. Focus on the desired outcome before you react in terms of your own frustration and the fact that you haven't received what you're hoping to receive at this moment. Bottom of the deck for a somewhat hairy reading that we are seeing today. This is a rebuilding. This is a moment of rebuilding. This has not been built like this before. This is all about masculine and feminine need to give themselves a bit of a benefit of a doubt. There is a new foundation coming through here. This is not something that we're seeing that masculine and feminine have ever done before in this capacity. There is a point, there has to be a bit of grace given to the fact that this is more of an act of deconstruction right now than it is building. Breaking down some of the foundational things that may have led to illogical choices in the past. This is laying new ground. This is all doing work in new grounds, in new directions, because the foundations of the past were not serving you. And they're requiring new approaches. They're requiring everyone to do things that they haven't done before in the capacity that they're doing them. And so there needs to be a bit of wiggle room and patience for both sides of the energy as you continue forward from this point. That is our daily collective read for the day. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with the option of a recording sent to you afterwards. Just thank you for the gift with the option of recording sent to you afterwards. And please remember that if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure that you do both if you would like to have a reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never inbox you. I will never slide into your DMs. I will never tell you that your great granduncle has a very, 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 very special message for you. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you go to my website. So do that. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and sharing this reading with me today. And we will do this again tomorrow.